Hey, I'm Scott Decker, 3M Authorized Trainer. Today, we'll be installing a Trueline Automotive pre-cut window tint kit on this Toyota Corolla. When you order your pre-cut kit from Trueline Automotive, it'll come boxed up. Let's check it out. Inside the box, you're going to get just about everything that you need to be able to tint your windows. A couple extra things you may want to grab is some baby shampoo and some microfibers. Baby shampoo is really important because it doesn't have any alcohols or dyes, so we want to make sure that it's as clean and clear as possible. So your kit will have a hard card squeegee, a couple of different window tint squeegees. It'll also have a little chiseler, and then we'll have a knife and a couple extra razor blades for cleaning. It'll also come with a spray bottle, which you'll need to add just a little bit of water to. Now, if you decide not to use the knife in the kit, or anytime you're using a knife for window tint, just make sure that it's a stainless steel blade. Carbon blades can cut your windows. All right, let's go ahead and open up our film. Comes with really nice packaging. And we've got a shipping label, and then just some simple installation instructions. So we've got our kit rolled out. You just want to do just a quick check, make sure that you've got everything that you need, and the earlier that you can roll these out and get them flat, make it a little bit easier in the installation process. In your kit, you'll have a spray bottle. You want to take your bottle and fill it up about 3/4 of the way. Ideally, you would want to use distilled water, but tap water will work. Now, take your baby shampoo, and we're just going to add just a couple of drops. Now, in hotter environments, you may want to put a couple extra drops, but try not to go over that 4 or 5 range. Looks like we got everything that we need. Let's go ahead and start prepping the car. So in an ideal situation, you would definitely want to wash the car before you start. If you don't get that opportunity, at least take your slip solution and we're just going to wipe down the outside of the windows. We want to make sure that we don't want to take any of the contaminants from the exterior to the interior. Once your exterior is clean, we're going to move to the interior and get it prepped for installation. We're going to start with the razor blade provided in the kit, and we're just going to start from the top and then work our way down. We're going to try to scrape every inch of the window just to make sure everything is nice and clean. Once we scrape the window, now we're going to go back and we're going to clean out our front and rear seal. The squeegee that's provided in the kit works as a nice edge tool to be able to get in behind the seals to clean out any of that excess dirt that might creep in underneath your window tint. As you're cleaning and when you're installing, you want to remember that your water is always going to run down. So use that to your advantage as much as possible. Because we're using a Trueline Automotive pre-cut window tint kit, we have options on the installation process. So we have 2 different ways that we can install the window film. Either a bottom load option, which means that we need to pull the window seal that's just underneath the back molding, or we can use a 2-stage. And we'll show how to do both today. Just gonna pull this back a little. Once that's back, once this is up, we'll come to the back. And then we'll just slide that right out. Once our windows are prepped, we want to take our film over to the car and start shrinking. First, we need to identify which side is the liner and which side is the film. Easy way to do that is to take a corner, kind of fold it over gently, and rub it up against each other. So the film side is sticky and the liner side is slick. We always want to go liner to the outside. Also, you'll need some sort of heat source. A hairdryer will work, but a heat gun, it's a little bit hotter, works a little bit better. Next, you want to spray just a light mist on the exterior of the window just to help hold your film in place. Then you'll need your hard card and a heat gun, and we're going to start shrinking. Next step, we want to make sure that we leave about a 1/4 inch off the back edge and the bottom edge of the window exposed. That's where we're going to focus the majority of our shrinking. Next, we want to try to take as much of the excess material that's built up around the film and push it to the bottom to the center. The best way I found to do this is a horseshoe shape, and then push our fingers together in the middle. We'll start by picking up the film gently, and we'll make a stroke down, and then we'll come back around and we'll watch any of this excess film. That's the extra material that we want to be able to shrink out of the bottom. As you push your film towards the middle, you'll start to see these peaks, and these are our fingers. Now we're going to use our heat gun to shrink our fingers. Because of the curvature of the window, that's why we shrink the film. We want to make sure that we have the best fitment, so we shrink out the extra material, then take the film to the interior and start our installation process. Inside your installation kit, you're going to have these little tabs. These tabs are to make pulling off the liner a little bit easier. So the way it works is you'll put one on the outside and then one on the inside. That allows you to separate the film from the liner without touching the adhesive. So I like to turn the film upside down. That way, when I take the film inside, it makes it a little bit easier to carry. You definitely want to make sure that you're not touching the adhesive, and you want to make sure that you're not capturing any contaminants. So the process from the exterior to the interior is really important. Pull your liner slow and even, and as you pull, just add a slight mist. Be very intentional when you're spraying your adhesive. What you don't want to do is spray high and bring down any extra contaminants. Once you have it sprayed, you want to make sure that your interior is sprayed and your adhesive side is sprayed. That way we make sure that we have really good lubricant between the adhesive and the window. Because we're using the bottom loading technique, we're able to pull off all the liner, scoop it up, and bring it around. And we're going to start in the front bottom corner, and we're just barely going to touch the adhesive to the window. We're just really going to take our time, and the goal is to get our bottom set first and then work our way up. Make sure during this process you're keeping your backhand, a left hand in this case, off of touching any of the interior pieces. Even though we've wiped those down, we want to make sure that we're not picking up any extra contaminants. Once we have our bottom right corner set, we're going to be able to push the film in the center, and you'll see a nice channel in the middle. The reason we want to do that is we want to pull it off the back seal. We want to be very gentle, and then as we slide it into place, you'll see the film start to relax and lay down nice and smooth. Now if we see any channeling along the bottom edge, we can just loosely take our fingertips and slide the material down. If our film bunches on the corners at all, sometimes the seals are really tight. And again, we can use the same tool and we can slide it through that gasket, and that will help our film slide in behind that gasket. Once our film is in place, the last thing we want to do is check our top edge. We want a nice, smooth, consistent line, not too much light through, but also we don't want any overhang. If we have any overhang, we're going to run into issues when we roll the window up and down. Next, we'll spray the backside of the film. That'll help our squeegee glide across the film during the installation. That way we can take advantage of gravity. As we move the water down, that just moves our slip solution into our next area where we're squeegeeing. Anytime you hear the squeegee squeak, we know we need to add a little bit more slip solution. Do one final inspection before we roll up the window and finish out our bottom. Once our top section's done, our top edge is locked down, we've squeegeed out the center, we've locked down the edges, now we can roll up our window and finish out the rest of the installation process. So on this window, we're going to do it slightly different. That way you guys can see the different options. On the first window, we pulled the bottom seal out and we bottom loaded it. On this one, we're doing what we call a two-step. Big difference is we're going to pull the liner down about halfway. We're going to bring it around to the other side. We're going to install the top film and then roll the window up, and then we'll install the rest of the film after the fact. During the cleaning process, really make sure that you put a lot of effort getting that top edge really clean. When the window sits in the gasket, it collects dirt over time. So it's a little challenging to clean. Take the extra time, it's worth it. So I just take my arm, put it in the middle of the film, let it flip over, just making sure that I don't touch any of the adhesive. You can do that same push to the center. We'll have that little channel, and that'll allow us to slide both top edges underneath the side gaskets. Now, a lot of people like two-staging because you don't have to remove that bottom seal. Once we're on the interior of the car, we just want to make sure, just like the front window, our top edge is lined up, then we can start our installation process. Now, the challenge with two-staging is that our liner's still on. So if you'll notice, on our edges, our film bunches up just a little bit where that liner's still left. We don't want to worry about that right now. We want to focus on getting our top edge locked down, get the center section squeegeed down so we can get our window rolled up. Then we'll remove the rest of the liner, and then we'll tuck in these bottom edges. Just being very thorough about the top edge, making sure that we have a little light gap and none of our film is hanging off the top edge. Once we're happy with it, we can use our squeegee. We can go ahead and lock down that top edge. Because of our slip solution, our window film can still move even after we squeegee it. So a good habit is to just leave one hand, try to help hold it in place. At least while you get the first few squeegee strokes down. Once we're done with the top half and our window's rolled up, now we'll go ahead and remove the rest of the liner. As we're removing the rest of the liner, we want to make sure that the window has plenty of slip solution as well as the adhesive side. So really take your time on this part. Once your liner is removed, we want to take our thumbs, push directly into the film, and create another little channel. What that channel does is allows us to get the film up high enough to get down and behind the lower gasket and our side gaskets. Now we're going to move to the back window. On the back glass, you can shrink it the same way that you shrink your side windows, but a little pro tip, I found it a little bit easier to use a dryer sheet to help reduce that friction between the film and the window, and it helps it shrink just a little bit better. If you decide to use the dryer sheet technique, just to remember, we want to make sure to wipe off our edges and then one line right down the center. That'll give our film somewhere to tack up to as we shrink. Once we have our film on the window, we're going to do a real light stroke through the center where our dry line is, just to help hold it in place. And we'll do the same thing down each side. It's always a good habit to just go ahead and check the film before you start shrinking it, just to make sure all the kits line up and look really nice and tight. Once you've got your center and your sides locked down, you can gently run your hand over the film just to make sure that your fingers look evenly spread out. And as you're heating, you want to use the fan speed from the heat gun or hair dryer to push the film down, and you want to work in 1-inch increments as you work down. You'll heat 1 inch and shrink it out, and the way that you'll be able to tell that it's completely shrunk is when the fingers move from vertical to horizontal. This corner right here, you'll know when you're done shrinking your back glass once all your fingers are down nice and smooth. If you have a little bit of edge lifting here and there, normally it'll work itself out, but just make sure that you've got all your edges locked down the best you can. Now we'll use the tabs from the installation kit to help remove our liner. We're going to slowly pull the liner off and spray our adhesive side on about 50%, and then we're going to lay our liner back down. And just smooth it out the best you can. Doesn't have to be perfect. We just want to make sure there's slip solution between the liner and the adhesive. Now we'll do the other half. Again, spraying the adhesive side, go to about 50%, and we'll put it back down. We're going to use a technique called the reverse roll, or the California roll, where we take and roll our film up pretty tight. Try to keep it as even as possible. This technique makes it a lot easier removing the liner and carrying our film to the inside of the car. The last thing we'll do before we take it inside is peel back just a little bit of the liner. And we'll stick that to the roll. Now be extremely careful once you're inside the car to make sure that your film doesn't touch any of the headliner, or like in this car, we have a felt trunk lid. Once you have your exposed film packed, touched in place, you can slowly start removing the liner, and just be careful Watch your film, watch all your edges. Try to keep as much of the film on the glass as possible. Slow. Remove your liner. Once you have your liner off, you want to make any of your adjustments as quick as possible. Used on the side windows, you can just use your fingertips to move the film around to make sure all your edges are covered and all your big fingers are pushed out. Once you have your film placed where you want it, one more spray on the outside to help your squeegee glide across the film. Start in the center and work our way out. So as we wrap up the installation process, we want to do one last inspection. As you're looking over your film, there may be some dark bubbles. Don't worry about those too much. A lot of those will dissipate out. It's the more white bubbles that you need to really pay attention to. Chances are that's contaminant in the adhesive. Once it's trapped, it's locked in. If you happen to notice any lifting along the edges, some of those really small fingers, take your heat gun, heat up the outside of the glass, and then go ahead and squeegee those down. After doing that a few times, you should be able to get those last few little wrinkles out. Also remember not to roll down your windows, at least give it 2 days to properly cure out and seal up all those edges. So that concludes our install with our Trueline Automotive window tint kit. If you have any questions, be sure go back, watch the video a couple times, or maybe check out some of our other videos. Thanks a lot.